Today, our Miami Marlins have an opportunity to advance to the World Series for the first time in a quarter century as we've got Game 5 of the NLCS here at Wrigley against the Cubs. We're only going to be doing Game 5 today as it is an elimination game. Last episode, we went through Games 3 and 4, splitting them. Our offense really underperformed in both games. As we start with Game 3, we won 5-3, but we only had 5 hits total. The offense was very subpar, and if not for a couple homers by De La Cruz and Robert, we would have lost. Jeffrey Springs, though, 7 innings of one-run ball. He was fantastic. In Game 4, we ended up losing 4-2. Max Meyer got the start, pitching in his first game since July, where he got hurt, put on the 60-day injured list, comes back. I thought I had enough trust in him, but clearly not, because he struggled while the bullpen did really well. And had we gone with the bullpen game for its entirety, there's a good shot we would have gotten the sweep over the Cubs. But hopefully we can get the gentleman's sweep and look to make it to the World Series for the first time in this series. We've got our ace and our MVP, Edward Cabrera, on the mound today. And we're 2-0 with him so far in the postseason. Obviously, throughout the regular season, we've performed very well when he has pitched, which I guess is kind of obvious. The guy won the MVP, for Christ's sakes. And the pitching matchup as a whole is kind of an odd one because you've got Edward Cabrera, who has been the best pitcher in baseball over the last couple of years, facing off against Cade Horton, who has not pitched yet in the postseason. He only pitched in 6 games during the regular season, all 6 of which was as a reliever. And in those 6 games, he threw 14 innings with an ERA starting with the number 6. So I'm not entirely sure what the Cubs see in him to put their season essentially in his hands, especially considering they're facing off against Edward Cabrera, who is the best pitcher in baseball right now. I feel like it would have made a lot more sense to have either Shane Bieber or Roki Sasaki, realistically Bieber because he's pitched less recently, getting the start here. But that's not what the Cubs are going to do. They're going to try to hold their 2 best pitchers for games 6 and 7. But they've got to make it past Game 5 first. So let's take a look at Cade Horton, who, again, only 14 innings. I don't really see the logic with this decision from the Cubs. He started in 10 games last year. He wasn't very good. The only thing he really has going for him is that he was a high draft pick a number of years ago. I don't really see what the Cubs see in him, but maybe he'll prove me wrong, especially considering the offense has been very bleh over the last couple of games, as Luis Robert, hitting at the top of the order, starts the game with a walk. So the Marlins get an early base runner. Robert looks to swipe second. The throw from Smith is in time. Part-time ball player, full-time sniper. Big throw by Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Chicago. Jazz Chisholm's still up, and he hits this one sharply into the right center gap. 114 off the bat from Jazz Chisholm. He's going to look to leg this into a triple, and he is out. So Miami's first 2 guys get on base, and they're both thrown out running the bases. And if Luis Robert had never tried to steal second, I think he would have scored on that play. Isaac Stu strikes out, and that'll wrap up the first inning. 3 up, 3 down, kind of. An unconventional first inning, but the Marlins didn't score. That's the most important thing. And the Cubs know that they can't let the Marlins score often tonight because realistically, Edward Cabrera is not letting many guys cross home plate. We don't get to see his numbers for whatever reason, but in 2 postseason starts, he's 2-0. He's only allowed 2 runs. That was a homer by Luis Garcia back in Game 1 of this series. And he's pitched 13 really solid innings of playoff ball, obviously coming off an elite regular season as he strikes out Luis Ariz on the slider. Josh Rojas now rips this one into right field. Luis Robert will not be able to make the play as it one hops off the wall. Rojas rounding second, headed for third. The throw from Berry is offline. I think that would have gotten him. It was in time, but it was off the mark. Both teams have been very aggressive running the bases. So far, it's worked out a lot more for Chicago. Will Smith, base hit in the left. That'll score a run. And the Cubs are on the board here in the bottom of the first inning against the National League MVP as they lead at 1-0. Rowdy Tellez hits it well into right. That'll go for a hit. Another base runner here for Chicago. They're clubbing the baseball so far, their last 3 batters with base hits. Full count for Happ. draws a walk, and the bases are loaded. What a disastrous start so far for Edward Cabrera, who doesn't look like himself at all. Against Suzuki, swinging a miss on the fastball. Big strikeout for Cabrera. He needed that one. Now against Luis Garcia. He's going to pop this one up into the shallow outfield. Jazz Chisholm's under it. He will make the play. And the Cubs leave the bases loaded. Normally that's us doing that. They do score one, though, and overall it was not a very good inning from Edward Cabrera. But it could have been worse, considering the Cubs had all those runners. Let's go top two. Alec Bohm, swinging a miss on the fastball. Cade Horton has been really impressive. He looks dialed in. Two very strong innings for him. As we go bottom two, Dansby Swanson strikes out on the fastball. Cabrera looking better. We'll see if he can retire the side as he faces off against Luis Arraez, who struck out in his first at-bat. And he strikes out again, this time on the circle change. Much better inning for Cabrera, looking more like the guy we all know and love as we move into the third inning. We'll see if the Marlins can try to get something going here against an inexperienced postseason pitcher who has so far gotten the upper hand. He fools Jacob Berry on the inside slider. Now facing off against Nick Fortes, who's been quiet since his 2 homers early in the series. That should have been a called strike 3. He ends up dodging a bullet and gets another opportunity here in this at-bat. And he hits it well into center field, but Pete Crow Armstrong makes the play. And Cade Horton is through 3 really good innings. So Edward Cabrera is going to have to try to match this. Already he had the first inning where he struggled. And now Will Smith is going to rip this one likely for extra bases. This should go for a double. His second hit of the game. And the Cubs get a runner in scoring position as they look to potentially add to the lead. That'll bring up Rowdy Tellez. Count is full. He takes a walk on the inside fastball. There's another base runner for the Cubs. Ian Happ is now up. Grounds it to first. Isaac Stu deflects it. He's just going to flip it over to Cabrera to get the 1 out. So the inning stays alive. The Cubs have 2 runners in scoring position. Base hit probably scores 2. It's Seiya Suzuki who pops this one up behind home plate. Fortes under it. He makes the play. Through the first 3 innings of this game, the Cubs have already left 5 runners on base. They had the lead, but that very well could come back to bite them, assuming Cabrera pitches better and assuming the Marlins offense gets going. Luis Robert up the middle. Base hit. He's aboard for a second time today. I imagine the Marlins are not going to have him steal here once again. As the rookie, Isaac Stu's got a nice opportunity. Just don't put the ball on the ground, and he puts it on the ground. Now, Horton's unable to make the play. He will only get the 1 out at first. So Luis Robert is safe at second. The Marlins have a runner in scoring position. What a big opportunity here for Woody Landry. 2-2 count, 2 away, base hit ties it up. And Woody hits this one high and deep into center, near the track, near the wall, and it is caught. 4 scoreless innings for Cade Horton. Who could have seen this one coming? A guy who has not pitched in the postseason this year. He hasn't started a game since last season, and he is dominating. Bottom 4, Garcia starts the inning with a single. De La Cruz misfires the third to second. Edward Cabrera is allowing a ton of base runners tonight. The Cubs are continuing to hit the ball well. Here's another. Pete Crow Armstrong hits it sharply to third. He's safe at first. It's an infield single, and there's 2 runners aboard with nobody out. The Cubs have to take advantage of this opportunity and add to this lead. Dansby Swanson, single into center. That should score Garcia with no issue. He is safe, and it's 2-0 off of the RBI single from Swanson. And now Cabrera's really got to dial in. He is continuing to struggle. Luis Arraez pops it up. Boom, can't make the play. He completely missed it. There's another base hit for Chicago, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. This is quickly trending into a disaster for Cabrera and the Marlins. They finally getting out as Josh Rojas strikes out. That'll bring up Will Smith, 2 for 2 today. Goes down looking. That's a big one from Edward Cabrera. He needed that one badly. And now it's up to Rowdy Tellez with the bases juiced. 1-2. Swinging a miss on the slider. The Cubs get another run here. They lead it 2-0. But again, that inning could have gone a lot worse. They leave the bases loaded. I can't imagine Cabrera returns for the 5th because he's been playing with fire with all these base runners he's allowed. The Cubs with 8 hits and 8 runners left on base through 4 innings. but he's done a great job of getting the Marlins out of some sticky situations. Here into the top of the fifth, Alec Bohm strikes out again. Cade Horton has not had the Cubs in any jams because he's pitched so well, only has allowed 2 hits so far. Jesus Sanchez draws a walk. Okay, there's a base runner. We'll see if the Marlins can do any damage to try to bring themselves back into the game. That'll bring up Jacob Berry. Count is even at 2-2 with 2 away. He grounds this one up the middle. Swanson fields it, flips it over to second. And Cade Horton's through 5 scoreless. His pitch count is in a good spot. I don't know how much the Cubs trust him to keep going, especially because they've taken guys out early in games throughout this series. Reynaldo Lopez comes out here for the Marlins, hoping for a steady inning because it has not been a steady start for Edward Cabrera, who's allowed a lot of base runners. Ian Happ goes down looking. Okay, there's a start. Good work there. That'll bring up Seiya Suzuki. Rips this one into left field. It goes off the shrubs. That ball was hit so hard that Suzuki is only able to get a single out of it. Good hustle out left field to quickly get that ball. That's Sanchez. Luis Garcia grounds it up the middle. Jazz Chisholm over to Berry, over to first in time. Double play. And the Marlins make it through the fifth without much issue. Good inning for Reynaldo Lopez as we move into the sixth. Here is Nick Fortes. He hits this one sharply into right center field. That could go for extra bases as he rounds first and is headed for second safely. And the Marlins start the inning with a no-out double. They're starting to hit the ball a little bit better, but they haven't done anything today with runners on base, and that's got to change sooner than later, especially with Luis Robert, who's reached base in each of his first 2 at-bats up, and he strikes out on the changeup. Big pitch for Cade Horton, and after the strikeout, the Cubs are going to take him out. This is certainly interesting timing. However, I think the Cubs have a clear strategy here. 3 of the next 5 batters for the Marlins are lefties, Chisholm, Landry, and Sanchez. So they're going to bring a lefty into the game now with Jordan Montgomery, the veteran who hasn't really pitched all that well throughout the postseason. He's allowed 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings, but he's a guy who has a lot of postseason experience. He's been around the block, and the Cubs hope that he can get them out of this little jam as Jazz Chisholm singles into left. Okay, there's a good start. 2 runners on the corners, 1 away. Got to take advantage. Isaac Stu absolutely cannot put the ball on the ground no matter what he does. And he puts the ball on the ground. 5-4-3, inning-ending double play. No run score, and it remains 2-0. That is exactly what not to do with runners on base, kids. Bottom 6, Andres Vina comes into the game for the Marlins. The rookie's been fantastic here in the postseason, has not allowed a run in 6 innings of action as he faces off against Pete Crow Armstrong. Rips this one into the corner. Does it stay fair? Yes! Another base hit for PCA. Robert slow to get to it, and Pete Crow Armstrong's going to hold up at second. The Cubs have their fastest base runner in scoring position with nobody out. PCA's going to look to steal third. Bohm's covering the base, so he's unable to field the ground ball, and Pete Crow Armstrong scores. It's an RBI single for Luis Ariz, and it's now 3-0. That's an uncharacteristic way to score a run, but hey, it works. Ariz stealing second. Rojas grounds it to short, but Bichette was covering second base. How are the Cubs doing this? That should have been a double play to end the inning. Instead, there's runners on the corners with 1 away. The Cubs have like some voodoo magic that they're clearly working. Will Smith now hits it well into right. It should be caught, but that's a lot of room to tag up this runner for a sacrifice fly. Luis Robert sends a bullet to the plate, but it's a little bit offline as Luis Ariz is safe, and it's 4-0. That'll bring up Rowdy Tellez. Hits this one sharply, nearly 110 off the bat into center. De La Cruz makes a good angle on that ball to make sure it doesn't get by him, but it is a single. There's 2 more runners on the corners, and from there the Marlins make a pitching change. Vina has been a lot better than Camilo Doval throughout the postseason, but the Marlins trust their veteran more than their rookie to get them out of this situation. We'll see if Doval can get the job done with runners on the corners and 2 away, and a huge at-bat here for Ian Happ. He goes down looking on the cutter. The Cubs scored 2, but they leave 2 more guys on base. Chicago has left 10 runners on. It probably won't matter considering their lead, but you never know. With the bullpen in the game, maybe things change here for the Marlins offense. And that could start here with Woody Landry, lefty-on-lefty crime. Woody has struggled against lefties this year, but he rips a single into left field. That's a good start. There's only one way left to go for the offense, and that's up. Alec Bohm with a weak dribbler to third. Not going to be a double play. Instead, they'll just get the one out. Bohm absolutely could not put the ball on the ground there, and he did, but he hit it so weakly that the Cubs couldn't turn two. Jesus Sanchez puts this one on the ground. He shouldn't have swung at that pitch, but the throw is offline from Rojas. It's a throwing error, and so the Marlins are going to get another runner on base. That'll bring up De La Cruz up the middle. Opportunity to turn two to end the inning, and they do not. Good hustle by De La Cruz. He is safe, and so there's runners on the corners. This inning should be over, but now the Marlins are going to have another opportunity to do some damage with runners on the corners and two away for Jacob Berry, who crushes this ball into left field. Flips the bat. 3-run homer, and the Marlins are back in the game. They cut it to 1. What a huge swing from Jacob Berry, absolutely launching that ball into left field with a sick bat flip as well. And just like that, the offense is awoken, and the Marlins are back in the ball game. As I said before the at-bat, the inning should have been over, whether it was the throwing error by Josh Rojas or the failed double play. There was no excuse for the inning to be alive for this long, and the Marlins take advantage of a massive break off of the mental lapse by the Cubs defense to bring them back in the game. Berry's going to knock Montgomery out, and he will be replaced by Keegan Thompson, who's been a lot better throughout the postseason, 1.42 ERA. The Cubs wanted to get the lefty-on-lefty matchups, but two of the Marlins lefties reached base there, albeit one of them was off of an error. Nick Fortes is up. He draws a walk. There's another base runner. The tying run's aboard. And Luis Robert, who has been great throughout the entire playoffs, is up. Count is even at 2-2. Robert hits this one into right. That'll go for a base hit. Oh boy, this game just got real interesting. So not only do those bad defensive plays allow the 3-run homer, but it could lead to more damage. With 2 runners on base for Jazz Chisholm, who has 2 hits today, and he pops it up into shallow left. Swanson under it. He will make the play. And the Cubs hold on to their lead, but if not for some poor defensive plays, it would still be 4-0. Instead, it's 4-3 with an incredible 3-run homer by Jacob Berry. Let's go bottom 7. Now that the Marlins have made this a game, we'll see if the pitching can look to limit the amount of guys Chicago gets on base. Duvall stays in the game as he strikes out Suzuki. Here's Luis Garcia now, single into center. The Cubs are just going to continue to get hits on hits on hits. They haven't necessarily been clutch, but you'd think it's only a matter of time with all these runners they've got on. Pete Crow Armstrong goes down looking, a filthy 99-mile-an-hour cutter, and then it's the slider that gets Dansby Swanson. Good inning for Camilo Duvall as it's a 1-run ball game going into the 8th, and the Cubs are now going to go to the back end of their bullpen. That starts with Xavier Ebner. He's thrown 1 shutout inning so far in the playoffs, and the Cubs are looking for another one. 3, 4, 5 hitters due up. That starts with Isaac Stu. Lines it right to third. Rojas bobbles it. He knows he cannot make another defensive mistake as he does make the throw over to first, and the defensive shift there proves to pay off for the Cubs. That'll bring up Woody Landry now. He strikes out on the low circle change. A big pitch there by Ebner. Now Alec Bohm is up for the Marlins. Full count. And this one is going to be jammed inside into the gap. It will drop for a hit. Okay, there's your base runner. Tying run is aboard. And the Marlins want any opportunity to score him, so they will bring in a pinch runner. But first, Jonathan Hernandez will come out of the bullpen to replace Xavier Ebner. As for Bohm, he'll be replaced at first base by Esteury Ruiz. I guess the Cubs have a little bit more confidence in the veteran Hernandez to get the out, and they are proven right. Jesus Sanchez hits it well into left, but it is caught by Ian Happ, and we are through the top of the 8th. The Cubs lead it 4-3. We'll see if they can hold on and finish this game off. It is time for Paul Sewald to pitch. 8.1 ERA in 3 innings of postseason ball. He's allowed 3 runs. Hasn't pitched all that well. As Arise lines this one past Jazz Chisholm for a base hit. Luis Arraez now has a hit in each of his last 3 at-bats. Josh Rojas will pop this one into right. Luis Robert is under it. That's the first out of the inning. The Marlins cannot afford to let another run in here. Already being down by 1's enough as Smith lines it to Stu, who tags the runner for a double play. Great defense at first base by Isaac Stu to not only quickly make the catch, but have quick enough reflexes to tag the runner as Sewald gets checked by the umpire, and we move into the 9th. Cody Hoyer is in for the save. He is 6 of 6 in save ops this year in the postseason for the Cubs, and he's looking for number 7 here. He hasn't allowed a run yet. Now would be a pretty good time to change that here for the Marlins offense with the back end of the order 7, 8, 9 due up. That starts with De La Cruz, who strikes out, very clearly frustrated with himself for out number 1. Jacob Berry now up. He had the big 3-run homer in his last at-bat. He goes down looking on the inside fastball, and this game comes down to the number 9 hitter, Nick Fortes, who will be replaced off the bench by Aurelvis Martinez. Game down to the final strike, and Martinez rips this one into the gap. Will it drop? It does. One hops off the wall. Martinez at second with a double. The tying run is on second base. A base hit will tie the game, and guess who's up? It's Luis Robert, who has reached base 3 times today. Can he do it again to tie the game? The count's at 2-1. Runner on second. Robert over the glove of Rowdy Tellez. That'll drop for a hit. Martinez looks to score. The throw from Suzuki. It's going to be close. It's not in time. He's safe. And Luis Robert with an RBI single. We're tied at 4. Wow, what a moment here for Martinez and Robert to keep the game alive for the Marlins. The Cubs had it down to the final strike. They thought the game was over. Not so fast, my friend. Robert looks to steal second, and he literally was not so fast there as he's gunned down again by Will Smith. But successful inning because the game stays alive. Into the bottom of the 9th, Griffin Jax is in out of the bullpen for the Marlins. He'll face off against Rowdy Tellez, who goes down looking. Doesn't seem to like the call. He thought it was high. That'll bring up Ian Happ, who hits this ball well. High and deep in the left center. Back at the track, at the wall. It's caught. Ho, ho, ho. That was close. But Jazz Chisholm makes a great catch on the wall to make the play. Suzuki grounded to second. Ha-Sung Kim in as a defensive substitution. He makes the quick throw to first. And through 9 innings, we do not have a winner. We're going to extras. The Cubs have had so many opportunities to close this game out, and they have not been able to. Luke Purcell is out of the bullpen for Chicago. They've used all of their really good relievers already. They do have a lot of lefties coming up. I think that's why they brought Purcell in as he strikes out Jazz Chisholm. Now against lefty number 2, it's Woody Landry, count 1-2. He hits this one sharply into center field. That one's going to drop into the gap. Woody looks to head for second safely with a double. And the Miami Marlins have the potential winning run in scoring position with 2 away. What an opportunity for Ha-Sung Kim. His first at bat of the game after coming in as a defensive substitution earlier. Checks his swing. Umpire says he went around. And that'll wrap up the top of the 10th as Purcell gets out of it. And the Marlins do not score anybody. Bottom 10, Jax stays in the game as he allows an early single to Luis Garcia. The leash for Griffin Jax here in this extra inning was 1 base runner. He allows said base runner. He'll now be taken out of the game, replaced by the closer, Johan Duran. It's not a prototypical save situation, but the Marlins want their best reliever here in this situation. So he'll face off against Pete Crow Armstrong. That should have been a called strike 3. Marlins don't get the call. Checks his swing. Umpire says he doesn't go around. PCA gets lucky again. He grounds this one over to second. The Marlins look to turn 2, and they do not. The Cubs get their speediest base runner aboard thanks to a couple of poor calls behind the plate. He's now at second base, 2 away, full count for Luis Arraez. Base hit ends the game, and he strikes out. Big play for Johan Duran, striking out his former Minnesota Twins teammate. Luis Arraez got hits in each of his last 3 at-bats, but not there as we move into the 11th. The Marlins start the inning with a hit. It's Jesus Sanchez with a single into left field. So Sanchez wins the lefty-on-lefty matchup, and the Marlins open up the inning with a runner on. 2 away now for Aurelvis Martinez, one of the heroes back in the 9th inning. He is still in the game as he pops this one up into center. Pete Armstrong under it. He makes the play. And through the top of the 11th, still no runs. Another good inning for Luke Purcell as we go bottom 11. Duran is still in as he gets Will Smith. No, he does not get Will Smith. That's a walk. I thought he went around. But again, the Marlins don't get the call. So the winning run is on first base. That'll bring up Tellez. He goes down looking on the splitter. Big strikeout for Johan Duran. That'll bring up Ian Happ. He's 0 for 4 today. Nearly had a walk-off homer in his last at-bat. And he strikes out as well, frustrated with himself going back to the dugout. Johan Duran makes it through the 11th as this game remains tied at 4. Luke Purcell is going to stay in the game. I feel like that's a mistake because Luis Robert is up and he crushes this ball into left center. He's looking for extra bases. Have yourself a day, Luis Robert. He has 4 hits in this game. He's reached base 5 times. I don't get why they kept Purcell in there. Luis Robert rakes against lefties. And now there's a runner in scoring position. Purcell is going to stay in the game as Chisholm grounds it to second. Tough play, throw to first, not in time. He's safe. What an opportunity for Miami. They've got 2 runners in scoring position. They've got to capitalize. You have to score at the bare minimum 1 run here. Isaac Stu rips this one into center. That goes for a hit. 5-4. Chisholm to third. He is safe. And there are still runners on the corners as the Marlins now take the lead, and the Cubs are going to keep Purcell in the game. I don't get this call at all from Chicago. Woody Landry strikes out, but now this is where things get weird. Purcell is now taken out of the game, and he's replaced by Scott Barlow. I think Chicago's mismanagement of their pitching really could cost them this series. You'll never guess who their manager is. It's Kevin Cash. The jokes write themselves. Runners on the corners, 1 away for Kim, who chases the outside slider. It's a big strikeout for Barlow. Now against Jesus Sanchez, count is full, and he's going to pop this one up. Wow, so Barlow gets Chicago out of the jam. The Marlins do score, though. They could have gotten more, though. And they're only up by 1 as we go into the bottom of the 12th. 2 of Chicago's next 3 batters are lefties, so the Marlins are going to bring Adonis Takadopoulos in the game. Takadopoulos, along with Jordan Hicks, is really the only options that Miami's got out of the bullpen right now, along with, I guess, the starting pitchers. I don't know how many of those guys have enough juice, if necessary. Suzuki leads off the inning as he rips this one into the gap. That one should go for extra bases. He was not fooled by the knuckleball, and already the Cubs have a runner in scoring position with nobody out, and they've got a prime opportunity to tie the game up. So Suzuki's on second base. That'll bring up Luis Garcia. He's got 3 hits today, 2-2 count, and he grounds this one down the line. Berry makes the play. There's 1. The Marlins are 2 outs away from advancing to the World Series. That'll bring up Pete Armstrong. Did he go around? Yes, he does. Strike 3. Takadopoulos gets him on the curveball, and now the Marlins are going to make a pitching change. They trust Jordan Hicks a little bit more here, and with the next batter being Dansby Swanson, who's a lot better against lefties, the Marlins want a righty in the game. We'll see if Hicks can send the Marlins to the World Series. If Swanson's out, game over, series over. If he gets a base hit, then we're tied up as he fouls it off, and Chicago's now down to their final strike. Their season on the line. Runner on second, 1-2. Hicks looks to get him on the outside slider. He does not. Swanson holds off. Count evens up at 2-2. Swanson looks at that pitch in the dirt. Count is now full. Dansby Swanson, if he were to be walked here, would be the winning run on first base. Full count, 2 away, tying run on second, and he fouls it off again. This time the sinker, and the at-bat stays alive again. Following pitch. Swing and a miss! It's over! The Miami Marlins are going to the World Series for the first time since 2003. They defeat the Chicago Cubs here in Game 5 of the NLCS by the final score of 5-4 in a 12-inning thriller. What a game this ended up being, and what an ending. I mean, the Cubs had control for most of this game. They led 4-0. We did not get a good start out of Edward Cabrera, at least, I mean, definitely for his standards. But the offense clutched up with a big homer by Jacob Berry. And then Luis Robert making play after play. 4 hits in this game for him. He was the game-winning run off of the RBI single in the top of the 12th inning from 19-year-old Isaac Stu. That kid is a teenager. He cannot legally drink, yet he drove in the game-winning run to send the Marlins to the World Series. How cool is that? Miami gets the job done here at Wrigley, as we will await to see who we play against in the World Series between the Rays and the Rangers. What a fight this ended up being. Luis Robert, really the star of the show. He reached base 5 times today. When we needed a big hit out of him, he got it. Whether it was the 9th inning with 2 outs where he drove in the tying run, or in the 12th inning to get on and score the winning run. The rest of the offense was a little bit lackluster. I know we had 15 hits, and we hit the ball better as the game went along for sure, but we did struggle early. Edward Cabrera did not pitch very well. 8 hits allowed in 4 innings. He allowed a ton of base runners, but I will give him this. He got us out of a lot of jams, and if this was some younger, more inexperienced pitcher, I don't think he would have allowed 2 runs. I think he would have allowed like 6. Shout out to the bullpen for really holding down the fort. Chicago's offense hit the ball really well throughout most of the game. They had 17 hits as a team. Problem is they left too many guys on base, and that's going to be the killer for them. Their pitching mismanagement, again, costed them here. I feel like they could have kept Cade Horton in the game with Luke Purcell. I don't know why they had him throw more than 2 innings. He's not an innings eater, but Kevin Cash costs his team another opportunity at a championship because of pitching mismanagement. He's done it before. He's pulled guys too soon. He did that in this series multiple times. And in here in Game 5, he does the opposite by pulling Purcell too late. We're going to get a week off before our World Series game, so everybody's going to be well rested, ready to go. Somebody like Edward Cabrera, who pitched today, will be ready for a hypothetical Game 1. Who are we going to play against? Will it be the Rays or the Rangers? Tampa Bay has a 3-1 series lead currently against Texas as the Rangers win Game 5, 10-7. I thought it'd be a pitching duel with Zach Gallen on the mound for Texas. Game 6, Shane Baz leads the Rays to the win, 3-2, with a walk-off in the 9th inning. I was able to figure out by the box score it was Alfredo Herrera, the catcher, with an RBI single to send the Tampa Bay Rays to the World Series. So the Rays will be our opponent. 2 small market teams, the 2 Florida teams, in-state foes. That's pretty cool. We're a lot better than the Rays. They won 84 games this year. On paper, we are better, but they have experience. As we talked about with the Cubs, this is a team who's been there, done that. They won the World Series 2 years ago. You know the one team who's won it more recently? Tampa Bay. They won it last year. They've got so many guys on their roster who historically are great playoff performers. Obviously, that starts with Randy Arozarena, who we considered signing in the offseason, and I'm kind of wishing we did. They've got other great players here. Josh Lowe, Brandon Lau, Josh Giddey at shortstop. Alfredo Herrera, I think, is the best catcher in baseball. As a team, they're hitting .295 throughout the playoffs. It feels like everybody has a high batting average. Their rotation's built very similarly to us. They've got 2 ace-level pitchers with Shane McClanahan and Shane Baz, and they've got some good young depth with Taj Bradley and Tyler Glasnow, and the veteran Kevin Gausman, who they haven't even needed to use yet. They've got some intriguing bullpen arms, including former Marlin Sixto Sanchez, and a good back end, including another former Marlin in Devin Williams, who was traded from us to the Rays at the deadline. We've been banged up throughout the year, but we're now fully healthy, and that includes Bo Bichette, who will be available for the World Series. We have not had him throughout the entire playoffs. He got hurt back in September, but he's back. Who are we going to take off the playoff roster for him, though? Aurelvis Martinez feels like the answer, but he had a really good series against the Cubs, and he clutched up in the 9th inning of Game 5. So do we pick someone else, or do we pick him after all? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. This next episode, we will kick off the World Series, probably with both Games 1 and 2 at home. Let's see what the Marlins can do here in the 2027 Fall Classic against our in-state foes, the Tampa Bay Rays. That'll wrap up today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.